Welcome. Today, we're diving into the challenge of worst-case product selection in COP validation studies. Dr. S.K. Singh will guide us through the key concepts and strategies to identify the toughest scenarios, the ones that really test product performance. Let's explore how this approach sharpens our validation process. Let's start with the basics. Cleaning validation is a key part of good manufacturing practice. It proves that our cleaning methods reliably remove product residues, cleaning agents, and microbes to safe levels. In facilities making multiple products, testing every single product on every piece of equipment just isn't practical. So, the regulatory solution is to focus on the worst-case product, the one that's hardest to clean. If we can show the procedure works there, we know it'll work for everything easier to clean. When it comes to regulatory expectations, there are several key organizations we need to keep in mind. These include the European Medicines Agency, the World Health Organization, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the Pharmaceutical Inspection Cooperation Scheme, and the International Council for Harmonization. Together, they set the standards we follow. One critical requirement is that manufacturers must scientifically justify their choice of worst-case products. This rationale has to be clearly documented within the cleaning validation master plan, ensuring transparency and compliance. Let's talk about what we mean by a worst-case product. This is the toughest product to clean off equipment, the one that pushes the limits. It might have high potency, making even tiny residues risky, or low solubility so it doesn't wash away easily. It could be highly toxic, stick stubbornly to surfaces, or be hard to detect analytically. Sometimes, it's simply the product made in the largest batch. The key idea is this. The worst-case product represents the highest risk for residue carryover and cross-contamination. That's the one we focus on. Let's talk about why worst-case selection matters so much. On the business side, it means less time and money spent on validation and lab testing, which speeds everything up. From a GMP perspective, it's about using science to justify our choices, improving contamination control, and staying ahead with compliance and risk management. And regulators expect this approach to be solidly backed by science, no shortcuts, just clear, defendable decisions. Here's a key principle to keep in mind. The tougher the attribute to clean, the greater the risk during cleaning validation. We look at several product-related factors that can make cleaning more challenging. Potency means lower acceptance limits, so even tiny residues matter. Toxicity raises patient risk, demanding extra caution. Solubility affects how easily residues wash away. Stickiness causes equipment to hold onto residues. Color can reveal visual contamination. Larger batch sizes mean more residue to tackle, and stability influences how long residues might persist. These factors help us identify the worst-case scenarios to focus on. To wrap up, Product A stands out as the worst-case candidate for validation. It scores highest across key factors like potency, solubility, toxicity, and adhesion, giving it the top total score. Using a risk-ranking matrix like this helps us pinpoint which product poses the greatest challenge, and therefore demands the most rigorous testing. It's a practical way to focus our efforts where they matter most, ensuring safety and effectiveness across the board. Let's talk about assessment. Starting with product Y, it poses a much tougher cleaning challenge. So much so, it might be our worst-case scenario. From a regulatory standpoint, low-solubility compounds like this often become the main focus for cleaning validation. Why? Because they're harder to wash away. Take a look at the solubility numbers. Product X dissolves easily, but product Y barely does. That low solubility is exactly what makes it critical when selecting products for validation. When we assess these products, Product A stands out because it has the lowest permitted daily exposure, just 2 micrograms per day. That makes it our strongest worst-case candidate. We look at parameters like PDE, ADE, and occupational exposure limits to guide our decisions. These health-based exposure limits are the focus of modern regulatory approaches, helping us prioritize safety based on potency and toxicity. This example shows how careful evaluation shapes our selection process. When we look at selecting the worst-case product for tablet manufacturing, We focus on the one with the highest contamination risk and the strictest carryover limits. In this example, that's the hormonal product. It has very high potency and low solubility, which means even tiny traces can cause issues. Compared to others like paracetamol or metformin, it scores highest on risk. So, when sharing equipment, the hormonal product sets the toughest standard for cleaning and safety. Let's talk about grouping strategy and cleaning validation. The idea is to organize products into groups based on key factors, like their formulation type, how they're made, the cleaning process used, and the equipment involved. For example, solid oral dosage products might be split into tablets in one group and capsules in another. Each group can have its own worst-case product to test. This approach cuts down on the validation workload while still keeping everything compliant and safe. When we talk about typical parameters in cleaning validation, we're looking at several key factors. Product residue and detergent residue are the obvious ones. We want to make sure nothing unwanted lingers. Microbial contamination and visual cleanliness are just as critical. The study design itself follows a clear sequence, starting with a product risk assessment to identify the worst-case scenario. Then, we execute the cleaning procedure, collect swab and rinse samples, run analytical tests, and finally evaluate if everything meets acceptance criteria. It's a thorough process to ensure safety and quality. When it comes to regulatory consequences, there's a clear chain of events we need to understand. It starts with GMP observations, which can lead to FDA Form 483 observations and sometimes escalate to warning letters. These often trigger revalidation requirements. Common regulatory observations tend to focus on a few key deficiencies, like lacking a scientific rationale for product selection, skipping risk assessments, or not considering PDE and ADE values. Other issues include poor product grouping, outdated toxicology data, and insufficient documentation. These gaps can really hold us back. Let's wrap up by focusing on what worst-case product selection really means. It's about looking at key factors like potency, toxicity, solubility, cleanability, batch size, residue detectability, and health-based exposure limits. These elements guide us in choosing the toughest challenge for cleaning validation. Regulators expect this process to be documented, risk-based, and scientifically sound, aligned with good manufacturing practices. When done right, worst-case selection becomes the foundation for a cleaning program that protects product quality, ensures patient safety, and keeps operations efficient. When selecting the worst-case product, we lean on quality risk management principles to guide us. We bring in HBEL and PDE data, look closely at solubility and how easy a product is to clean. Toxicity and potency get careful attention, too. Having a documented scoring system keeps things consistent, and we regularly review product rankings to stay current. Whenever new products come in, we update our risk assessments. Plus, involving toxicology experts ensures we're thorough. The industry is moving away from the old 10 parts per million rule, favoring smarter, science-driven HBEL approaches instead. Thanks for joining me today. If you want to dive deeper or have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help. Until next time, thank you for your attention and engagement. This video was created with SlideSpeak. Visit SlideSpeak to turn your presentations into engaging AI-narrated videos.